Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello and welcome to Phoenix Business RadioX. I'm Karen Nowicki, studio partner and host of today's show, and we are broadcasting live from the Max 6 Conscious Workspace studio in Tempe, Arizona, where we help introduce you to the right people and elevate your exposure. I'm very excited about our segment today. We have some Metro Phoenix greats. We have Joseph Rosales, founder and CEO of the Performance Group of Arizona. Welcome.
Thank you.
Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Perfectly.
I was hoping so. Usually I check, but I flubbed up and didn't do that. And my longtime pal, Cathy Droz, founder of Her Certified. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We were just
good to be back.
So great to have you back. So we have Jane Gordon to thank for the first time you were with us.
That is correct.
So shout out to Jane, who's just a dear and runs in such great circles.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, Allie Craig was going to be doing a video of me with Empower Her. I think it was what it was. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Allie was in town. And I said, as long as you're going to be here, you ought to consider interviewing Cathy as well and highlighting her business. And she did.
She did. And thank you for that recommendation. It was great.
And Allie's just phenomenal.
She is.
I'm missing her. So if you would both, let's start off by just introducing yourselves and telling us about the business that you're in, and then we'll just get into the meat of it. I always like to share with our guests who are here for the first time, we're just going to have a conversation for up to an hour. And I want you to imagine as if the three of us are out for a cup of coffee or a meal together. Mm-hmm. When we're allowed to do that comfortably again, right? Can't do that right now. And someone's leaving the restaurant and they pass by our table on their way out and they tap me on the shoulder and we all look up and they say, I'm embarrassed I've been eavesdropping, but your conversation at this table is far more exciting than the table I left. We all laugh. And then they share what you said that kind of struck them and why they wanted to take a moment and gather some courage and say thank you. So that's really what we do a day in and day out here at Business RadioX. We want to elevate your exposure and hear about your journey, your success, how you're helping people in our community, and of course, the businesses that you serve. So I don't want it to just be me asking questions. I know you two know each other very well, but if you have a story to share or you want to ask a question of each other, please do that as well.
Absolutely.
So, Joseph, would you be willing to start with us? Tell us a little bit about you and your business, and we'll go deeper in a bit.
Sure. Well, thank you, Karen. And again, thank you for having us on today. It's a pleasure. And my story goes way back, but I've been in the leadership and team building and development side of the business for over 35 years. We moved from the East Coast here about 3 years ago and to join our son and be parallel with him. He's now a senior at ASU and finishing up his degree in sports marketing. So we're excited about that. And when we moved out here, we downsized the company, and I brought myself and some of the things we're doing. And what we do really, Karen, is we help businesses to develop high-performance leaders and optimize the performance of their teams. The name of the company is the Performance Group for a reason, because really it's all about performance. And, often businesses are doing what they do and they keep doing it and things happen great, sometimes not great. And the word optimization is what we really have, is our core. We look at what people do and help them to optimize it, whether it's their people, their process, their presentations, whatever it is. So we have that luxury of being able to be very objective and sit back and look and ask the questions. So, what are you doing? Where are you now? Where would you like to be? What's working? What's not working? And then help step back and look at those things with the lens of optimization, not perfection, because there's nothing that's perfect, really. And if it is, you can achieve it for a moment, but it doesn't sustain. So that's what we get to do. And I use that word get to do because we're honored when we help our clients. We have the resources and the ability to help move their needle on performance. But people ask me all the time, so how can you help us? And I go, I don't know, because I don't know what you're doing, what you're not doing, and how you're doing it. So we look at those things, and that's what we get to do. And when we're talking about being on the show today, I immediately thought of Cathy, because Cathy is part of our company now and does some really cool things inside and outside of our company with helping to help our clients understand how to be more successful at having women buy from them. not sell necessarily, but help them want to buy from them. And it's an amazing story that she's got. So that's what we get to do. We get to help people grow their business, develop their leaders, and develop high-performance teams.
Oh, thank you for the great introduction. I didn't realize you were that new to Arizona.
3 years.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that you followed your son here.
Yeah. We always knew that we would go where he went. He played lacrosse here for ASU for a couple of years. Then he got so busy in his business, he said, "Dad, it's costing me too much money to play lacrosse." And he's doing amazing in his business now. We're really proud of him. He's only 22 and he's just doing amazing.
He has his own business.
He works for a company called EcoShield. I'll throw them out there.
Yeah.
And he's now a manager for them. And he's doing extremely well with them. And they are an amazing company because they do a tremendous amount of investment in their people. They have a minimal, if any, advertising budget, but they really invest in their people, incentivizing, training, developing their people. One of their calls, like the other day, he had a call, and I said, "So what do you guys talk about?" We talk about us. We talk about our health. We talk about, are we working out? Are we getting enough sleep? And we talk about all the things that leaders need to do, because he's a leader. And you can't be a successful leader if you're not healthy, mentally or physically. And so they really get into the details of it. And they work long hours. They work 6 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day. And they pick the right kind of people. They're very specific about the people they pick. And it's amazing because they're just blowing the competition away.
And then they take care of them.
And they incentivize and they take care of them and they train them and they bring speakers in to talk to them all the time. So it's an amazing company. And they're based here in Arizona, by the way.
Well, you'll have to tell your son to extend an invitation to have them come be on, and he can be on with them. I would love that. Sure. So I love that you shared the story of this particular company, EcoShield?
EcoShield,
yeah. Because that's on the tails of you talking about how you help business owners and leaders optimize their performance. So what a great example. You're witnessing that. And more, I'm seeing companies, Cathy, I don't know about you, but who are making their talent, their team, their employees, the single most important aspect of their business. And thank goodness, right? My dad's era, it was drive, shove, sacrifice, bend over backwards. And granted, we're still going to do a little bit of that to get ahead. But when the leadership and the C-suite executives really value people, then folks will stay on board longer.
Right.
They're going to be happier and healthier. They're going to be a champion for that product line or that service, even when they move on. Some companies, as I'm sure you both are familiar, will even really encourage you and invest in you financially, knowing that you might move on at some point. But how great is that?
Yeah. It's interesting just to talk about perspective for a second. Something that Cathy and I do a lot with our clients is really shape perspective, help them see it right. Because, and we'll talk about my book in a little bit, my newest book. If you don't see it right, your actions will follow. Your actions will be off. And when you see your people as your most important asset, then things happen differently in your business. Everybody always talks about customers number one. And customers are extremely important. Without customers, we don't have a business. Without clients, patients, guests, whatever you call them. But without the right people doing the right things, your customers won't stay your customer. And so we really need to look at how we see our people, how we invest in our people, how we develop our people, how we inspire our people and incentivize them. It's really about that because businesses rise and fall on the performance of their people.
We could end the segment right there, but we won't. So much more to talk about. Thank you for that introduction. Cathy, tell us about Her Certified and a little bit about your journey.
Well, I like the introduction that you said if someone was passing by us while we were having lunch and what would really get them to when I'm speaking. And I think it would probably be about the branding. I wrote a book and everything revolves around red high heels. And the reason for that is, there, Karen's looking for her copy. He's looking for her copy. So I would think that they would be interested in listening to what we talk about, how women are treated in the retail industry. Specifically, I very niched my business to the automotive industry, which is what Joseph and I had so much in common. And therefore, I think that by writing the book for the consumer, specifically the female? And then how would we have dealers actually understand when the woman comes in and now she has all this confidence and she's asking questions she hadn't asked before? How would we prepare that sales team and that group? So came up with a teaching program so that they can best have women buy from them and raise what's very important to dealers is their customer service index. So, Joseph has written a wonderful book about, customer service, and certainly that is mine. And I think that's what people would listen to. My background is boring. You can read about it in the book.
Well, I don't know about that. I think that you're being very humble. How did the two of you connect?
Joseph?
We connected on social media.
Really?
Originally, yeah.
Don't you love that?
I love
LinkedIn.
it. I saw a post that she made, and I immediately reached out to her and said, we need to connect because we have so much synergy with what she does and what I do. And she said, ironically, I'm just in the space right now where I'm looking to reorganize, re-engineer my business. Mm-hmm. And so we had an original meeting and fell in love and she's amazing. And I don't throw compliments lightly. She's amazing.
She is amazing.
And she's got so much value to offer and so many ideas and so much passion. And I'm excited to have her on our team and working alongside me and the rest of us to provide resources and to provide ideas and strategies and to our clients that help them move forward with what we believe is one of the most important and under-focused categories of customers there are, women.
And we are the greatest decision makers on behalf of purchasing, correct?
85%. 85% of big ticket decisions.
Yeah, we influence 85 and buy 65 in automotive, but that also in healthcare and it's not just cosmetics where the people just think that those are the decisions we make. In fact, with COVID, women are making even more and influencing more decisions. Research shows that because women are more used to ordering online for Amazon and that they do their research before they buy, that now with auto dealers, when you have the ability to order your vehicle from a dealership online, not just Carvana, women are now buying more and influencing more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just bought a TV, a big, large screen TV, a 60-incher, and I wouldn't buy it without my wife seeing it. I can.
Back in the day, somebody might. Actually,
maybe.
People still may be doing that.
They still do.
but we're a partnership, my wife and I. We do everything together. We choose our vacations together. We choose big ticket items together. If I stop and buy something on the way home, no big deal. But if it's a large number, if it's over $500 or $1,000, I'm not buying it without asking my wife what she thinks. I don't have to ask her permission.
Sure.
But I have to. What do you think? What color, whatever, what amenities, and the whole thing.
It's a partnership. And Cathy, speak to the psychology of selling or buying and why it's so important that you do what you do. Why isn't this just a given that salespeople and businesses would cater to women? Why are they not doing that? And if automotive is the best example.
Automotive for me is the best example. I don't want to talk about Nordstrom's. There are so many... They do a great job. If you have, I use as an example in teaching Ritz-Carlton, Apple Store. If you're from back east, I say Wegmans supermarkets because they do. Ritz-Carlton in particular. So they all have it down. They know how important women are, and they have customer service down, I believe. But in the auto industry, it starts at the top, which is something Joseph and I talk about all the time. And what I have found, because I've been fortunate enough to test drive cars from manufacturers for years, so I've been privy to the manufacturers' ability to say, come on, guys, we've got to cater more to women. But they don't actually put that training in place that then trickles down to the dealership mode and then to the customer. So I felt that I came in to help dealers. That is really, which most women hate. I decided I'm going to make them better people, and it's a struggle, right?
Absolutely.
It's all run by men.
Well, it's interesting because our company had a long history in the automotive business with dealership groups. And I worked with a lot of the manufacturers like Acura and Honda and Toyota and Lexus and companies like that. And so we've spent collectively thousands of hours in dealerships. And it's interesting, if 85% of your customer, being women, either buy or influence the purchase, you would think you would have an orientation toward that customer group. But if you look in the typical dealership, and we're just talking about car dealerships for a second, you might find not even 10% of their associate base are women. Right. You might find one or two here or there. And a lot of it is, and I'm speaking about some dealerships, not all. They don't know how to treat women as employees. They still want to be gruff and rough and get them out there and close them. And hey, women can close as strong as men. There's no issue there. But it's when you treat women a certain way, you don't get the same result. You have to respect. Here's the simple: it's respect. You have to be respectful to people, not just women. And you have to you can't use the F-bomb every other word and expect that. And I don't just say women, but eagles don't tolerate that. People that expect a lot from where they're going to work, they won't tolerate that. I won't tolerate disrespect from my manager. You don't have to speak to me that way. Speak to me respectfully. And so you see a lot of things that are old school, right? Mm-hmm. That worked. Maybe it worked in the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. It doesn't work now.
And yet, until Cathy came along, specifically for this industry, it was an expectation, and the car manufacturers were saying, "Got to cater to them." No one really knew how to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or they did not want to put any of their budget to do that. And I would watch how, at one point it was, we need to have more Hispanics buy vehicles. Mm-hmm. But then their answer to that, Joseph, as you know, was send the bilingual salesperson over to that person. Instead of working into knowing how the Hispanic culture works, how their respect for their families, how to promote to them, the time isn't taken, because I still think it is end of month. Got to get that last car out. I don't care how much.
Sales are driven that way, aren't they?
Yeah, they are driven that way.
I know you. Last time you were here, you had an opportunity to speak to some of the dealerships that really have embraced Her Certified. Mm-hmm. Do you want to give a few of them a shout out? Is it appropriate to ask?
I'm happy. Superstition Springs Lexus in the Mesa area, Camelback Toyota, which is over in Phoenix, and there are a few others. I'm not going to mention them. Not because I haven't paid their bill. It has to do with, it's just that I have used the Lexus dealership. They are my pilot. Mm-hmm. I even have a studio there, a 10 by 10 that is very good for advertising. But they have lived up to every expectation I've had. And Karen, when you say that, when I have a Her Certified, it's a certification. I wanted it to be like J.D. Powers. So I'm very selective. So if a dealer says, I want to be Her Certified, let me write you a check, it doesn't work that way.
How does it work?
It works where I go in, first of all, if they are interested. Sometimes I choose them and speak with them. I do an assessment now of what Joseph and I will be doing a complete assessment because of his background.
So good.
But for now, I do assessment of how everything from the parking lot to service. You walk in, and my eyes are knowing what women want and don't want. Not necessarily me. I'm a tough cookie. I like dealers. I've bought many cars by myself. But it's what my research has shown, what women want, don't want, and how psychologically we think differently. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So true. I have a clipboard. I put down all of that. And then I propose that these are some of the things like you had no soap in the ladies' room. So that is going to affect your customer service index, because when they do decide at the end, how was your experience based on 1 through 10, the man will still give it 10 because he didn't care about the soap. He just wiped his hands on his pants. But the female, that knocks you down one.
Note to self.
Yeah. Note to self. So that's just a simple example. But the Lexus store maintains, I'm there all the time, and they're just proud of it. And most of the salespeople, have my book on their desk, so they let their customers know. So thank you for asking.
It's interesting, Karen, if I can just, kind of tie into that. The things that Cathy teaches and instructs and coaches people on are many of the things that we were doing in retail segments a long time ago. I came from the fine jewelry and men's clothing industry. And it was very touchy-feely, fabrics and touch and lighting and sound. I mean,
the experience,
the whole experience, and we were highly successful in our groups because we paid attention to: is the music too loud, too soft? What's playing? What's in the background? What are the conversations, the ancillary conversations that are going on around people? What does the seating look like? Is it too close, too far away? Is it comfortable? How do the people present their product or service? How do you do an introduction? One of the courses we're working on right now is the Art, Science, and Psychology of Persuasion. And it's a super course because it talks about how you create authority, how you create expertise. What are the things you do and say that gets a customer to say, wow, yeah, I'm in the right place. And it's not about the price. Price is an issue, but price is only one part of value. We know that. So the things that Cathy brings to the table and I've subscribed to for 4 decades are applicable to any business that is serving a customer.
For sure.
Especially a discriminating customer, man or woman, somebody who cares about how they're treated, who cares about respect, who cares about feeling appreciated. And that's a lot of customers. That's the majority. Some don't. Some just want the cheapest price. That's it. Just give me the price and I'm out of here.
But more and more people want to be choosy about where they're spending their money, and they know they have that opportunity to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so important for them to buy local and stay local. For others, it's high quality, but not this exorbitant price. I mean, whatever that thing is, you're talking about really creating an experience so that that you can meet those needs for whoever the buyer is.
And Joseph came with all of for a man, a very manly man, to have all those things from being in fine, menswear and jewelry. He already had all of that. Plus, then he comes in as from the manufacturer's end, and he has a much better eye than I'm sure any of the other men or women that spoke.
I have a trained eye to know what to look for.
Yeah, you do. I think it's natural for you.
So it's interesting because, as we talk about this space that we're talking about, how you have more women want to buy from you, is really any customer who cares about value and respect and trust and all of those things that we can compile there. That's important for a business because it's not just the big box mindset. It's not just online. There are still businesses that your business is about attracting a customer and creating an experience for that customer. That customer says, wow, I'm where I need to be. This is where I want to buy. And then how you present and how you make it. People ask us all the time, what sales training do you recommend? And I go, all of them and none of them. And well, what do you mean? Well, because they all work and they all don't, depending on how you use them, right?
That's so good.
So it's really more about how you implement, how you execute, how you present. The words that you choose, the phrases, the tone, the pace, all of those things matter when you're talking to a customer that you're trying to influence to see your product or service in a way that they say, yeah, I'm going to do that. Because it's not about selling. It's about helping customers decide to buy from you.
And retaining them. And having them celebrate and sing your praises, especially with social media.
Yes.
Right now, we can so easily tear a company or an individual down, whether it's true or not. Yeah. We've got the platform to do it. And it is harder, oftentimes, to get somebody to sing somebody's praises and give them a great shout out on social media. So to your point, customer acquisition is critical. It's, what do they say? It's far less expensive, right, to retain a customer or a client than to go out and get new ones. Right. And then, of course, wanting them to be a raving fan is huge. I would love to talk a little bit about the book. You and Cathy both mentioned it. The title is The Leader of You. How did you land on that title?
Thank you. It's funny because when that title came to my mind, It was really about that you can't be an effective leader of others, truly, if you're not first an effective leader of yourself. And that comes from decades of doing what I do and watching people try to lead others, but they don't lead themselves well. We talk about self-reflection. I have a group of clients in Indonesia. I have clients in Egypt. I have clients all over the world. And what's really interesting to me, the challenges are not that much different. The culture may change a little bit here or there and the environment, but the challenges are the same. It's recruiting and training and developing the right people and then leading them to accomplish the vision or mission of the company or your group. And when you talk about the leader of you, the subtitle is you can't be an effective leader of others if you're not first an effective leader of you. Right. And so the concept all came together. And it's really interesting because it starts with reflection. Stopping and saying, wait a minute, let me look at myself as a leader. Have I really thought about who I am as a leader? How do people describe me as a leader? What are my strengths and weaknesses? And we talk about leadership blind spots because we have them in our cars and we have them in our life, right? And you don't even know they're there.
Yep.
And so leaders struggle because they have these blind spots and nobody's ever told them anything because you're not going to tell your boss that he has a blind spot. It's a difficult thing to do. So how do you find these blind spots? How do you find these flaws about yourself as a leader so you can work on them and strengthen them and get better at them?
Not only do we have blind spots, we also have, to your point in your book, leader reflection, right? So another CAR term, reflection, and of course, leader mindset. Mm-hmm. Your book is like right around or under 50 pages.
Yeah.
How is that possible? Yeah. And thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, I've been doing this a long time, and the one thing I will compliment myself on, the one thing that I pride myself on is always adapting. Always adapting. I remember when a prospect book was really a book. Now it's an app. Mm-hmm. And I've learned to use both of them. I never got stuck in my ways of this is how we always did it. And the book came through the idea of micro-training. I do a lot of work with Rutgers School of Business, and we teach leadership and management for them. And micro-training, instead of the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hour training session that everybody was used to, micro-trainings are maximum 60 minutes with multiple follow-ups of 10 to 15 minutes frequently.
Not 7 hours on Zoom?
7 hours, no. Yeah,
or in
right?
person?
Yeah. Quick.
Really?
Quick. And let's give you one thing to do and go do that. And then next week we'll give you one thing to do and go do that. And it's how people learn. So the concept of the book was I wanted people to be able to sit down and read this book in a few hours, gather the golden nuggets from it, and begin to put an action plan together so they can actually make changes. Because nothing's, one of the things I say, and I even say it in the book, is knowledge does not change behavior. You can know and not do, right?
Yes, I'm smiling. Yeah.
So someone can know and not do. So how do you get people to know and do? That's really the challenge of leadership. And so, even the digital course that goes along with the book, which is out next week, is 6 modules. And the modules are no more than 20 minutes. You can do a module in 20 minutes. And we did that on purpose because we want people to sit down and get it and go, yeah, I'm going to do this and then do it. And we even encourage, don't go to the next module until you've done what this piece is, because we want to build the right foundation for people to become an even more effective leader. And we use that word a lot. Even more effective. You might be effective now, but you can be even more effective.
My mind is racing. I'm sure Cathy's is too, so jump in here and add value or ask questions as well. I'm thinking about the leader and your point earlier around how we really can't be an effective leader long term if we're not being the leader of ourselves first, right? Mm-hmm. And I think our constituents, our employees, even, clients, whatever, our families for that matter, they can sniff out when we're not being authentic and in integrity. So it's one thing, as you said a second ago, to have the knowledge about leadership or a knowledge about a skill set. But that's very different than embodying it and showing up in that, right? And that's what you're talking about. This is not just blah, 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 blah. Hey, I'm standing in front of all my employees and I'm telling you how to do it because I read a book about it and it sounds great. It really is maybe saying this much about that, but modeling it and encouraging others to embrace that. Am I right in thinking that that's how you educate?
100%. And it's interesting because, in the book and in the course, we really break out the idea and we try and help people shape their perspective on just because somebody's in charge doesn't mean they're leading. We know those people. We see those people. They're in charge. It's my company. You do what I say. And I get it. But that doesn't cause people to follow. That causes people to comply. And there's a difference between complying and willingly engaging. And I want our clients and their people to follow because they believe in it. They see it. They're inspired by it. And that's where that next level comes from. We know that most businesses across the country and in Arizona are functioning at some place around 60 to 65% of their potential. And we can say that scientifically because you can measure the people and see that the people are functioning and producing at 60 to 65% of their potential. You'll have the rock stars, the ones that are just off the charts. Then you have the ones that shouldn't even be in that business. Then you got the 60% in the middle that if we could just move their performance and their results up 10, 20, 30%, that's a huge number to a business.
Exponential growth.
Huge number to a business. But unfortunately, the people in the middle are the ones that don't get what they need.
60%.
60%, yeah. 6 out of 10. You got 10 people, you got 2 rock stars knocking it out of the park, you got 2 people that shouldn't even be in the business, and you got 6 in the middle that, well, they're trying to get better, but they don't know how. Because there's a huge difference, and this is something that, again, we talk about in the book. There's a big difference between a leader and a manager. Leaders lead people. Managers manage process. You need to do both. You need to be effective at both, not just one or the other.
So, Karen, I look at you as a leader, and where would those skills come from for you? I mean, you were born a leader, or when did they develop for you?
Yes, I was born a leader.
Right out of that, that embryo thing was like, wow.
And my son Ivan, who you know, because your
darling.
grandson has played
What a
ball
lovely
together.
young man.
He's the same. I was that kid in the backyard that would gather all the neighborhood kids and put on these grandiose performances. And, sometimes I had to be the star, but sometimes I was okay, running the lights or whatever it is. And in every career, and I've had a lot of moves within my career, from education to entrepreneurship and a whole bunch of smattering things in between. I've gravitated towards leadership. I've sometimes chosen not to participate in organizations because I know if I show up, I'm going to end up leading something and having to own something. And so I purposely have learned to say no because I don't have enough time to go around. But that's unique, right? Not unique. Everybody is born a leader.
Right.
It's more often that people are not. And they think, well, I can't be like Karen, or I can't be like Cathy or Joseph, they've got this skill set that they were born with, extroverted or outgoing. Baloney, right?
The science is, and this is science, that someplace in the neighborhood of 75 to 85% of leaders who have been interviewed recently were not born leaders. They were developed. They learned. They took a position and they learned how to be a leader. I, like you, Karen, was a born leader. I was always the leader of my friends. I always took, and let's go do this or let's do that. My son used to tease me, a few times anyway. He said, Dad, do you always have to be in charge? Because if there's a league and they don't have a president, I'll do it, right. Bang, and I'll jump in or coach this or do that, and it's what I do. And that's who I was. My son, on the other hand, was not a born leader. He was one of those people, we used to call him the boy of few words. How was that? It was good. Was it a great movie? Fine. How was the game? Good. Few words. But now he's learning to be a leader. He's developed as a leader. He's got an amazing team of guys working with him in his company, and they're kicking butt and taking names. Yeah. And he's their leader. And so he's learning to be a leader. So I say, anybody who truly wants to, they desire to be a leader, they can become an even more effective leader, but they need to know what we call the essentials are. There's a chapter in the book and in the course about leadership essentials. There's 21 of them. There's probably more,
but
there's 21 just that you can focus on that help you go, wow, I should develop that more and become an even more effective leader.
I'm curious, Cathy, with the folks that you've had the pleasure to work with over the years, what have you seen through the teaching that you've done when that spark hits somebody, a salesperson or somebody within an industry that and they themselves get, I can do this. Do you have any examples that you can think of where you know that the way in which you've taught and how you've shown up in your leadership has inspired others to do the same?
I think so. I've always been a person who has seen potential, and we were just talking about that. I've always seen potential in other people that they haven't seen. The book is based, if I would say that my book, whether it says A Woman's Guide to Buying a Car with Confidence and Street Smarts, that's it. So I equate a confidence. That's how a person can become a leader. And I've always been the person who has tried to build confidence in another female in particular and make sure that they feel good about themselves and they can do it. And I think I was very shy, different from all of you, extremely shy. But I
would never have guessed
I
that.
know.
No, I mean that.
No, I mean
literally.
you probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Exactly. So shy. But my parents were, as my mom would say, I'd be damned if you're going to be shy like me. So she would deliver. I mean, I can't believe the tactics. If she were to leave me alone, let's say we went food shopping together and we would get in line and my mother on purpose would put all of the groceries up there and I'm standing there thinking she's next to me. She goes, "Oh, I forgot something," and left me there alone. I would not know what to say to that cashier if the groceries came too fast and my mother wasn't there. But she was just hiding behind a kiosk.
To give you the opportunity.
Yes. And my father I would try and sell Girl Scout cookies. I was so shy. And my father would be in the car following in New York going, "Go back. Did you sell any boxes?" "No, they don't want any, Dad." And he goes, "Yes, they do." So if I were not encouraged and then finally got the confidence, and Girl Scouts is what I attribute to really helping me with building confidence. But I think that's what I'm the first to say that I'm a leader, but not a born leader.
I'm glad we had that opposite effect because you and I were like, here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
And I never, and it's interesting because you and I have not had a chance to be in person often. First, the opportunity was here at the studio, but then on the baseball field, a few times that we've had a chance to see. And you are just this not only glamorous being, but very kind and just carry yourself in such a way that speaks leadership and kindness. That's oftentimes
that's a great compliment to me because I don't ever want to just say, because I'm certainly not a know-it-all.
But in how many leaders we see them as leaders, but we wouldn't necessarily want to have a cup of coffee with them or wouldn't want to necessarily spend more time with them than we have to because they might be rough around the edges or too big for their britches or whatever some of that stuff is that make, at least me, I'm getting very selective these days. Like I love people and I'm extremely busy and hyper-focused on where I need to go to build a legacy before I leave this earth. Right. And I don't have time for crap. I don't. Excuse my language. So it's wonderful that the two of you are showing up in the way that you are on behalf of the customers and clients that you're working with, and now collaborating on some really cool stuff.
Very cool stuff.
Very cool.
We really are excited about it, and it's interesting because I said this before. Shaping perspective is really a big part of what we do because people have to be able to see it, and we talk about vision. And, it all starts with a vision. I signed one of my books. The first book I wrote was Customer Service as a Contact Sport. And it was all about how you create an environment where people want to buy from you. And I signed a vision without a plan is just a dream. And if you add action to that plan, it's going to happen. But so many people don't have a vision for their business. They might have a business plan, but when was the last time they looked at it? It's on the shelf someplace. And a business plan is different than a vision, because a business plan might be those components that are going to cause you to accomplish certain things. And the right business plan should be part of a vision. But what's the vision for your people? We talk about recruiting, and one of the things we did a lot with our clients was helping them to recruit, train, and develop people. Well, I would always ask the questions up front. So who do you want working for you? If anybody will do, then that's what you're going to get. But if you're very specific about the kind of people you're looking for, the people with the certain traits and certain characters, then that's going to be different. That's going to be a different search, and it's going to yield a different result if you're clear about what you're looking for. And it starts with vision, and then it moves on through process. And most people have processes in their business today that have not been optimized.
We talked about that on the way in. Speak to that.
They're just, whether it's a sales process or a service process or how you explain something, every word that you say to a potential customer can have an impact, and it can get people to see things a certain way. And if you're doing it right, they're going to say, yeah, okay, let's do this. That's what I want. Mm-hmm. Let's do this. Let's sign. But so many people have never really taken the time to break those down and look at every word, every phrase, every method of communicating. Going back to the car business, if it starts with a guy standing outside the door smoking a cigarette, and when I drive up, he comes out, "Hey, yeah, how can I help you?" Really?
Right.
Is that our best effort? Because if that's our best effort, maybe we should look at that. But maybe there's another way. How do you greet somebody? Something as simple as a greeting can make such a huge impact in an ongoing transaction as it moves through the phases. But so you look at those things: tone of voice, pace, the words they use, and how they look, how they smell. Makes a difference.
Sure,
if the guy just ate a hoagie and it was full of onions and he goes, "Hey, how you doing?" Probably not going to make the first impact that you're looking for.
Just like the example that you gave around walking into the women's bathroom and not having soap or, toilet paper on the floor or whatever it is. Yeah.
Or it's dirty or it's cold or it smells bad or there's no color, there's no visual, a nice flower arrangement. And it doesn't have to be totally, pink. It just, but it has to be attractive.
Yeah.
And I in my first book, I wrote Customer Service as a Contact Sport. I said a phrase, and it's stuck for years. Everything you do makes an impact. Positive, negative, neutral. You choose. Yeah. But everything you do makes an impact.
And everything we do, how we do one thing is how we do everything. I've heard that saying as well. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd love to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about COVID and the pandemic and really how you're seeing that it's changing business and the way we buy things. Can you speak specifically to what you're seeing in the automotive industry? Has there been an impact on how people sell and buy? I mean, you mentioned, more than Carvana now you can buy.
Right. I think that the new car dealers did see Carvana as a, it was going to go away in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Because they're used cars, and the public sometimes thinks that you can buy a new car, Carvana. You cannot. They are used cars, and that they have fixed up, etc. But they catered to the millennials. But I found that during COVID, now during this pandemic, I'm finding more and more women who really did not want to even look at Carvana are ordering their vehicles, because many of them will call me first and say, "Hey, should I get that Mercedes and this and where should I go?" And I'm ready to recommend somewhere, and they'll call me back and say, "Hey, I just got it on Carvana." I'm going, "A Mercedes you bought on? Good for you." I mean, I guess if you're comfortable with it. But I think what has changed is the dealers don't know necessarily how they should handle it. And Joseph and I were talking about is that the customer service aspect still has to be there. Here's the upside. The upside is dealers didn't lose all that much money no matter what you hear. They've just had to sell more used cars. They've designated 3 different types of way to sell. One will be the traditional way coming into the dealership. Then there's a hybrid version, which would be just like our schooling now, 3 days off, 2 days on, right. Whatever. So that person can start everything online, including contactless financing and everything is scanned to you and back. And then the vehicle is delivered and you get, if you haven't already test driven it in another lifetime, you get to do that. And then there is complete, half and half. You come in, you do this, and full time. There are some people that are just doing everything over the phone and 1, 2, 3, and it's delivered and they're done. So there's 3 choices now. Here's the thing. If you don't think customer service was not the best when you came into the dealership, now you have people on the phone,
from
like
their home
a call
sometimes.
center. They don't know how to speak to a man or a woman on the phone, because I hate to say it, but they're hiring very young men and women that social skills, because of our digital age that we're in, don't necessarily ask the right questions. They call too much. There's no training for that either.
Yeah.
There's no
and so much of it becomes a numbers game.
Oh yeah.
Make 100 calls and you'll get X. Well, I remember when I got into real estate way back, my broker told me that if you make 10 presentations and you get 3 listings, then you're good. If you get 5, you're a rock star. Well, I was getting 7. Because
overachiever.
I spent a lot of time in the presentation. I built my own presentation. I knew what they needed to hear and what they wanted to assess to choose me.
Right.
And so it wasn't just let's go do 10 and hope that I get 3. Let's do 10 and go for 7, because you're doing a really accurate presentation. You're really getting people to say, yeah, this makes sense. It doesn't matter what we're buying. We all need to get to the point where we say, yeah, that makes sense. Or, yeah, this is good. I'm doing this. That's the goal, to get people to say yes to buying from you.
But you have an excellent example about during the pandemic, and you and your wife going to purchase a vehicle. They walked into a dealership, and go ahead, Joseph.
We won't mention the name of the dealership, but we were looking for a new car, and walked in, and it was like there was no pandemic. There was no mask. There was no hand sanitizer any place.
That's surprising.
And as we walked in, he said, "Are you guys going to put a mask on?" "Oh yeah, I'll put a mask on if you want me to." And it was that was a leadership issue. That is a leadership issue. Leadership said, we're not doing this because maybe they don't believe in it. Well, it isn't about you. It's about your customers. Right. And without customers, we have no business. And it's interesting because, in my space, and we see a pretty wide range of businesses, consumer confidence is what's hurting businesses right now. Some customers don't want to come back, whether it's a restaurant or a retail business or whatever it is, they want to come back, which is why, by the way, online is just through the roof. If you got an online business, God bless you, man. You're probably locking and loading. But those retail businesses, those brick and mortar, where a customer comes to a place to be served by an employee, you better be paying attention, because customers look at it, they go, nah, not doing it, and they'll turn around, or they just won't come there. So what's the messaging look like? Yeah. We have a program that we work with other kinds of businesses, not just car businesses, where we go in and we do an assessment, and it's completely COVID and consumer confidence related. What does your business look like? What what's your messaging? How are you attracting people back to your business? And how are you taking care of them once they walk in the door? What are your employees saying? How does an employee respond to somebody who says, "So what do you think of this whole COVID thing?" How does the employee respond to that?
Cathy, if you don't mind, on that note, how or what, you mentioned that you two are doing this together. Why is it important to do an assessment like this during a pandemic?
Well, to see if they are paying attention to what the consumer now is afraid to come in. Let's put it this way. Dealerships are petrified that they're going to go away. Brick and mortar. What they have found is, if this is going to work, it'll be like Tesla, or it'll be like Carvana. A call center, and you call in, and they're afraid. They don't want to lose that, even though they know that they now don't need necessarily that luxurious building. So if we go in and we assess now and say, this is how we believe you can get your customers actually to physically come back in, how you can make them feel good. It can be everything from who their community, getting involved in the community, their charity, without mentioning the dealership, because I knew what it was. I called them. And I told them what was happening, and they ordered 250 masks that night.
Good
So,
for you.
okay, that's good for me, but why didn't the manufacturer, why didn't the ad agency tell them that that's what they should be doing? What, Mother Cathy has to come in and call?
Yeah.
So it's one-on-one. It's like you're taking, right?
Yeah. And it's not a compliance thing for us. It's an opportunity thing.
Opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, let's look at this. Let's take a step back and look at this and see what you're doing. What's your what we call inbound messaging? How are you attracting people? What are the messaging? What are the images? What are all those things that could and should be said to make a customer say, yeah, I want to go in there? Because we're not just talking about car dealerships. We're talking about real estate companies. We're talking about banks. We're talking about hospitality. Things have changed, and they're going to continue to change. I don't know if everything's ever going to come back to the way it once was. It's going to be different in some version, some with more businesses more than others. But seriously, if you I have an image on a thing that we put out, a social media thing we put out a few months ago. It was an eagle and an ostrich. And the eagle's looking around, the eagle's soaring, the eagle's checking out the environment, looking for every sign and every indication that there's food, and they go get it. The ostrich puts his head in the ground and says, let me just stay here until this goes away. Not today. If you have your head in the sand or you're just ignoring and hoping that it's something else is going to change and you don't have to change, you might be missing an opportunity because customers have long memories. They really do.
You mentioned social media. Go ahead, Cathy.
No, I wanted to ask, I think we don't want to forget, Local First is one of your partners. Small businesses have suffered tremendously, no matter what signage they put up, wear a mask, do this, do that. I think that I've spent a lot of time trying to help smaller businesses that have called because they think I'm a leader, and they call and say, what do I do? And the first thing I say, and I'm not a big technology person, is let's see if we can get your business online, because as to what Joseph said, that might be the only choice. And then there are situations where maybe you downsize, but there's a lot going on there with these poor small businesses. So I don't think that we can go in, Joseph, to a smaller business. They all want to be absorbed somewhere. Employees are looking. I'm grateful that Amazon had they were looking for 3,000 people, et cetera. So,
who is your target audience as you two work together?
Small businesses, 20 to 200, probably.
20 employees to 200.
Those businesses, here's the critical thing, those businesses that are actively looking to improve.
Right.
We're not chasing people.
Back to the mindset again. Right.
Yeah, we're not chasing people saying you could be better. They got to say, I know we could be better. We just don't know how. That's when they reach out to us and we can say, we can help you. And it starts always with an assessment and a strategy session. One of the things I'm going to offer today is that we will do a free strategy session with any of your listeners. If they text into us or they email us and just tell us, hey, we're interested in talking more.
Yeah.
And there's no obligation. There's no big sales pitch. It's just let's sit and talk and find out where you are and where you'd like to be. And if we can help you, we'll tell you we can. If we can't, then we'll refer you to somebody that can.
A free strategy session. That's very generous. Yeah. So again, for our listeners who are interested in that and curious how, of course, working with you guys would be helpful, they can just text, they can email. You're both on LinkedIn.
Right.
And the website that they would go to, that they would reference?
Well, I wrote an article recently that sort of supports some concepts in the book, and it's called Fixed and Growth Mindset, because we all have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. You have one or the other. You just maybe have never really thought about it. And I wrote an article a few months ago that if the people type in the word leadership to 77948, that's leadership to 77948, they'll get that article immediately for free.
Wonderful.
And one person, I'm going to make another offer. One person will win a free digital course. It's valued at $400, $397. So I'm going to give one away and one person, if they text today, they'll get that. Yeah. And the other people, anybody else that texts in today, will get 20% off the digital course. The book is available at theleaderofyou.com, and it's available in ebook or print. But that strategy session, if they send their contact information with strategy session Joseph or Strategy Session Cathy, either one, it goes to the same place, to info@theperformancegroupaz.com. We'll get in touch with them. We'll set a schedule and we'll talk to them on the phone for 30, 45 minutes and find out, is there a way that we can help them? Because the sad thing is when people stay locked into where they are because they don't know that there's a resource out there that can help them.
Right.
And we're very, very skilled at helping people to uncover their potential, to look and say, wow, I always knew we could do better, but I didn't know how. And that's what we do. We've been doing this a long time, and we're really, really, I would say, gifted at it.
Well, for sure. Yeah. Cathy, when it comes to your business, where can we find your book?
It's on Amazon, but it's also my website is hercertified.com, and there's an opportunity there. But I'm happy to. I think most of my phone calls, and which is so funny, is that women will call me and say, I had a bad experience and this is what has happened. And I do try and help them because the dealers don't even realize it. What I have found, the difference between men and women, is a man will generally has a bad experience. He'll leave the dealership, can't almost accept that he maybe didn't get a good deal. So he really doesn't tell his friends, or he tells off the manager or salesperson. So that's it. The woman, and that's why social media and Yelp is for a woman. The woman, it festers inside her, and she continues to work with that salesperson. When I tell them, if you don't have that chemistry, consider it your date one. You don't have that chemistry with that man or woman in sales. You politely ask, I'd like to work with someone who maybe has a little bit more technology background, or I'd like to work with a woman. That's part of the confidence to be able to go and do that. But women will constantly call me, and I will say, but why didn't you ask to speak to the manager? Tell them this is how that person made you feel, and maybe you should think about some different training. And I don't mean with me, but I'm just saying. So women, I wind up, and then I call the dealer, and they go, oh, man, we didn't even know that. Okay, could you bring her back in? Could I have her phone number? Let me apologize. And, that it's just... I want women to just not be obnoxious by any means, but stand up for themselves. Men, too. I do get phone calls from men, too, which I'm surprised. They don't just do it themselves.
And are you still working with and looking to actively work with more dealerships and offer that training? And so for our listeners who are in the auto industry, in sales or management, leadership, how do they connect with you to make that happen? What's the first step?
They can come to my home. I'll have coffee, biscuits, whatever they like. I'm very happy to meet with them. And it's hercertified.com or Cathy at hercertified.com. I don't have a problem giving out my phone number. I know, but I think they can find that on the
plenty of places to find you.
Cathy with a C, by the way.
Yes,
thank you.
And a Y, right?
Right.
Cathy
yes, very good. We are just a few minutes out from the end of today's segment. Is there something that you anticipated in the last couple of days as you knew you were going to be on with us that you wanted to make sure our listeners knew about you and your business that I haven't thought to ask or that hasn't been mentioned yet?
You don't have to go this alone. You don't have to struggle along with the same challenges over and over and over again. There are resources out there that we have and others have that can shed a new light for you, show you a new path, give you some new perspectives, and move you not just incrementally but exponentially toward even more success. And that's something we are blessed to be able to do, we get to do, and we're honored to do. So if anybody reaches out to us, we'll treat them with the same respect that we treat all of our clients with, which is very high level.
Cathy, how about you?
Well, in the last year, I co-founded another business called Smart Women Series USA.
I am part of the group.
Yes, you
Not
are.
very active. I was going to mention that.
okay.
I want to become more active. Speak to that, please.
It really was the three women, one in real estate, one in mortgage, and automotive. For me, we did not like the typical way of networking where everybody so we wanted to have something that was at no charge, live event, that was fun, exciting. And we would count on sponsors to fund the food, whatever the case may be, whatever expenses that we would have. and we would always give back to a nonprofit. So that was our plan for sure. So our first one, which I did, was at a car dealership, and it was excellent. I did not allow the salesmen and women to approach any of the women there. And what we try to do is, I wanted women to understand that they didn't need to be afraid to go into a car dealership. And so we touched on that a little, but mostly we spoke about our journeys as to why we wanted to give back. I look at it as an event, part of Her Certified, of the performance group. And it just went gangbusters, 300 people at the helicopter event. And then we had our next one planned for October, which was with the chief of police was our keynote speaker. And we had such wonderful guests and a place to do it. But that didn't happen. So we're keeping people engaged, obviously. Yes. We don't all have something to sell. You would never know that Nancy was in the mortgage business. She started the Scottsdale Wine Club.
Shout out to Nancy.
Shout out, she's a doll. And Sheila, you would never know, with such a great real estate agency. But it's open to men and women. We're always surprised how many men we have. And thank you for being a member. And we're looking to do some smaller boutique things where we keep our distance, wear a mask, whatever. So keep you posted. But I think that's another way to build confidence in women, making decisions that normally were for a man. We're trying to teach and educate women and have fun at the same time.
And with a group like that, to go back to Joseph's point about spending time with the people that are like-minded,
yes,
and that you feel good about yourself when you're with them, right? That's what I get from the group.
Yes.
I want to be with women who are successful, authentic, ready to give a hand up and a hand out, in addition to willing to say, I don't have the answer for this. Who does? Like those kinds of things is what I get from the group.
Exactly.
And tell us, our listeners, again, where they can become part of the group and follow for the next event.
We do have a website, but the best way is to go to the Facebook page, Smart Women Series USA, and join. Costs nothing, and we keep you abreast of everything that we're up to. It's fun.
Yeah.
Joseph, you're a member, and so's your wife.
And again, great leadership, right? Just an example of leading and giving away beautiful stories, anecdotes, examples, an opportunity to get to know you before there's ever an opportunity to buy.
Or to be around, which I found just was amazing, is because Jan Diatri and I have been friends for years. So I asked her if she would be the host, and she said, of course. And she shared something very personal with the group, 300 of us. And when she left crying, and I said, Jan, why are you crying? Did we say something? Did we do something wrong? She goes, no. She goes, when I shared my journey, all these women came up to me and shared theirs. And she said, I've never met so many wonderful women before. And they just wanted to touch her. She's a celebrity. So
but
they got
real.
To be with her. Oh, and she's real. Yeah. So that's it. Sorry. And we touched Joseph too.
Yeah. Thank you. And collaboration is the new currency.
For sure.
It really is. And when you can collaborate with like-minded people and you can share ideas and perspectives and resources, amazing things happen.
What beyond our wildest dreams.
Absolutely. Like you. And thank you.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. I'm so thrilled that you thought to bring Cathy. And when I responded, I said, I know her. Hooray. And now I know her even better. Love it. Thank you for your time this afternoon. And I look forward to another conversation. You'll be back with me, I think, in November with Tisha Pelletier, another friend, Tisha Marie, and that ongoing conversation around leadership and how the two of you are collaborating.
Thank you.
Very good. You've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Mac 6 Conscious Workspace right here in Tempe, Arizona. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean business. Until next time, I'm Karen Owicki. Thanks for listening.